Welcome everybody. Today is January 21st, 2025. This is the Hannah City Village Council meeting. If everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May be seated. No guests this evening. Everybody should have a copy of our January 7th, 2025 meeting minutes.
Make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, motion by Caleb Johnson, second by Sidak. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Everybody should have a copy of the treasurer's report.
Nothing out of the ordinary. Thank you.
Make a motion to accept treasurer's report for all outstanding bills.
Second. Motion by Caleb Johnson, second by Weaver. Any further discussion, comments? And we'll roll call it. Weaver?
Yes.
Chris Johnson?
Yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Caleb Johnson?
Yes.
Motion carries. Also, today was Cassandra's first day working with the Village of Bellevue, doing some work down there to try to help them get situated like we have been. So
She's doing a little part-time work. The auditors down there, our auditors are down there. Told them to,
Oh, gotcha.
but they're not even using like time clocks and stuff like that. So there's some work to be done to get to a place where the auditors will be happy. So
Gotcha.
we're loaning Cassandra out a couple afternoons/evenings of the week.
That sounds good.
Pride of Hannah City.
Right?
anything for engineering?
Just that Brandon and I are meeting Thursday, actually. We're going to look at the water tower project, and then I'll talk about it a little bit later, but the Pleasant Valley project, now that we've got the Illinois American Water pricing and where that stands. So really nothing to report other than he and I will be meeting Thursday morning to kind of walk through that stuff.
Mr. Baylor, administrative report?
Oh, you got Shauna.
Oh, Shauna, I'm sorry. I got ahead of myself. I
That's
forget.
all right. I don't really have anything to report tonight.
No. Okay. Thank you.
All right, so administrator's report, you've got a deck with the financials through December, which is fiscal year month 8. So after the December numbers come in, that'll be the 3 quarters, and we'll start building the next year's budget, believe it or not. If you look at for the month, December core funds, we were negative around $38,000, but there were some big capital expenses in there that I'll talk about. In fact, you can see it adjusted on the next slide. We had almost $55,000. The big number in that was the water main, putting the new water main in down First Street. I think that was 44 or 45 of the total, and the other was for the sewer cleanup, the issue that we had from winding the sewers. So you take out the capital expenses for the month, we were positive 16.5, which is good, but not enough to cover our normal cash fund transfer for capital. If you look at the core funds broken down, then you can see general unemployment, water, sewer, and garbage, and you can see water and sewer were negative, but then if you look at them adjusted, taking out the sewer cleanup and water main. We were positive, but again, not enough positive to cover our cash, but that's always the way it is. The earlier months when we have the high property tax, we build up cash and then we need a little bit of it towards the end of the year. So core funds adjusted summary for the month, we were positive 16.5. General was 4,000 to the good. State income tax was with the drivers there. Water was 6,800 to the good. Sewer 4,800 to the good, and garbage just about $1,000 positive. So not a bad month for December. Look at MFT, no expenses, just income for the month. The only expenses that we'll have, remaining expenses we'll have this year, will be for the engineering costs to actually put the bid out for the 2025 program. And then we'll get another $5,200 for another, or $5,000 roughly for the next 4 months as well. So December TIF, you can see we had just a little bit of income from property tax, but then we had the major expenses, and that was the return of the 80% of the incremental residential amount that we always give back to the other taxing bodies. All hit that month. December BDD income was a little bit better than what we budgeted, which has been the norm this year. Expenses, we had the 2 grant payouts, so we were actually negative for the month. In the summary page, that's what we put in the minutes. The summary page, I'll go through all that. I spoke about it. Year-to-date in core funds, again, we're negative year-to-date 76,000 versus a projected budget of being positive 277, but that's all driven by the capital expenditures. Next slide, if you put in the adjustment, there's a typo on there. I'm showing negative 49,024 on the variance. It should be positive. But for year-to-date, we're 326,512 to the good if you back out the capital, which is listed, capital expenditures, which are listed there below, and the totals for each of those. Year-to-date core funds unadjusted, you can see we're really negative on the sewer side of things, but it's because of the projects that we've done. And then the next slide adjusts those, breaks it down, shows that for water and sewer. So even though for the month, our like I said, our cash wasn't covering our capital expenditures, year-to-date we're more than covering it. Year-to-date core funds adjusted. Again, I don't think I need to go into all of that. I think everything I've covered there before, but you can just see income and expense for each of the individual areas. Year-to-date MFT, we're negative 20,000. Like I said, we're going to have a few engineering expenses for putting out the bid package for this year, and we're going to get another 5,000 times the 4 months, which would be roughly 20 grand or a little better. So we should come pretty close to breaking even on MFT. TIF, we're at 59,763. I don't think we get any more property tax. I don't think we have any more expenses, maybe one, Jacob and Klein, I don't know. But we should finish right there. I think we thought we'd finish here around 60,000, so we're pretty close. The one thing I think we did spend a little extra money this year. We spent the money to do that project over at DNN Auto Body. That was one unbudgeted project, so we may be a little bit lower than what we anticipated. Year-to-date BDD, we're 73.40 to the good. Tonight we've got the Sportsman's Club, an amendment to what we spent there, and then the car wash, the last grant. And we got 4 more months of income, roughly 12 grand, so we'll be positive on BDD as well. Last slide, cash. Lots of moving parts. So the month we were down 97,000. Income over expense wasn't enough to cover capital. I talked about that, but the big driver was that 80% TIF reimbursement that came out of there. And then we also had the water and sewer capital that came out year to date. The key number is the year-to-date variance. If you look at the year-to-date cash variance, we're up to 34,647 over last year. And the details for that are on that spreadsheet, which is right behind it. Shows you every account, what was negative for the month, where we are year-to-date, and so forth. But, like I said, from a cash standpoint, we're up almost $235,000 year-to-date in total. So that's good. As I said, it's almost budget season, so it's exciting.
looking at that veterans account that we have,
You had asked me to look at some
projects or something.
signage.
Yeah,
What we were talking about. Roger's looking into that.
Because what we make 3 cents monthly, year to date, we only got 9 cents total.
Yeah, at this point, we probably would have had a discussion about moving it, but the auditor said if it was dedicated to that, we should spend it on something related to that. So, but we're not putting any new money into it, and we're not doing anything new or different. You had asked me to look into whether or not we could get maybe some signage for that would be for Memorial Day or Veterans Day that we could put out by the road signs as an honor to those folks. So I know Roger's looking at some of that, but we don't have a recommendation. at this
Just
point.
suspend it and close the account out. Yeah.
Yeah, just drain it and you do what we can with it and just close it out.
Yeah. I mean, Chuck Paul used to put out American flags on Main Street stuff, or down the highway, I guess. So we can do something like that. And,
We can use, buy some more flags.
yeah, flags and whatever the holders are, the strap on the poles, and put those out for they'd stay out a month or something, wouldn't they? Or
A couple months.
yeah. So,
Anything under finance? Nope. Planning and zoning. Mr. Caleb Johnson.
nothing to report.
Sanitary sewer, Chris Johnson.
Hey, a lot. Brian, feel free to cut in if I'm misspeaking. I'm a little flustered today. So regarding the lagoon, the trenches are in. Stringing has been complete. Unfortunately, weather is slowing down progress. The third draw request this week. I wanted to ask you in the email, what is the third draw request?
So basically, we had a total amount of money that were approved to borrow for the project, but we draw from that account
Okay.
in increments. We've already drawn twice.
Got
I
it.
think the total amount was $250,000, somewhere right in that range.
That makes
I don't know
sense.
how much we've drawn from it at this point, but maybe 100 and some. So the third draw would be to cover the expenses that we've got up to this point.
Perfect.
But eventually, we'll pull it all out and then start paying a monthly loan amount.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you for clarifying. So that's it on the lagoon. The only other thing that I have regarding sanitary sewer is there was an emergency issue over last weekend. Resident sewers were backed up due to adult diapers, probably Harrison Home, or is it called Harrison Homes? Heritage Homes, excuse me. I know it's not Harrison Homes.
No.
Sorry. The second I said that, I knew it wasn't Harrison Homes. That is it for sanitary and sewer.
The only thing I would say is we did find when we went from the house out, we did find some tree roots, which was part of the issue. But when we investigated, there were definitely, again, adult diapers and wipes in the system. And so I reached back out to Heritage Homes. We've been better for several months.
Yeah.
So I reached back out. They're going to communicate with their members again and reiterate.
So when it's roots like that, is that on their property? Is that city or them? Because they have the root, the rotor rooter comes in and they got it.
Yeah. And adult diapers, definitely. So,
Yeah.
Have we given them written notice on that?
I've got email documentation from the 2 times that we've done it. I've not given them a violation.
Okay. I
I think at this point, to be honest with you, we'd have to do a TV process to verify that it's them. We think it's them, given the location, but it could be another home.
If the TV their lateral and see if they have those items in the lateral, and then prove it came from them.
But last time when we communicated with them, we saw good progress for months. So maybe I just need to ask her to do it, regularly rather than wait till there's a problem or issue.
So that is it for sanitary and sewer. And if you guys are okay, I can move on to water.
Go ahead.
I'm going to start off with my shut-off list, and then I will move into some updates. So I have 20 total shut-off. Oh, thank you. Okay, 20 total shut-offs. Total amount for shut-offs is $5,240.53. Level pay is 0. I have 6 in foreclosure. Foreclosure amount is $268.01. Gallons sold, 2,217,573, 2217573. And I think that's it for the shutoff, right? Do you need is there another number I'm missing here? I think I covered it. Going into some updates, the IAW price increase came in. It was at 15%, which is better than the anticipated or expected 24%. So here today, I would like to make a motion. You'll see there's an ordinance in here. I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance amending the minimum water and combined water rates for residential and non-residential customers in the village of Hannah City. It's just in order for us to pass that cost on to the customers. Also some communication.
Yeah, there's a draft communication in the deck. Basically what we do, we've got a pretty good process now. Excuse me. Once we know the net increase, we go through and put that on the current rates. But then what I asked Cassandra to do is run I think we choose 3 months of the year. We choose 3 months of the year, and she runs the increased rate against the actual volumes for this year for every account, and then we look at the bottom line and say, okay, came out like 16 or 17% when we first did it. And so then we adjust the numbers to where we get it down to where it equals about 15%. And again, that's not an exact science because those volumes are always changing. But the last couple of years last couple of times that's worked pretty well for us. So the numbers you see in the ordinance are based upon us going through that process and running that spreadsheet to get as close as we can to basically not trying to make any money off it, just pass that cost off to the residents.
Perfect. Now, I did make the motion. Do you need me to say it again? I don't know if anyone else would like to second it. Or
Motion by Chris Johnson.
Second.
Second by Caleb Johnson. Ordinance number will be ordinance number 25-01-01.
I'll mark it up for you.
Don't need to recall that.
Those are issued.
2 spots. And capitalize that and call that entrance of IW.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We'll just do things anyway. Any further discussion, comments? We'll roll call it. Chris Johnson?
yes.
Sidak?
Yes.
Caleb Johnson?
Yes.
Weaver?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Go ahead. The only other thing I was going to say is just kind of reiterate what Brian had mentioned about meeting with Brandon Thursday to discuss bringing that PV water to the village of Hannah City. So if you want to elaborate more, you're welcome.
The only thing I would say is the good news is it was a 24% increase. It was only 15. The bad news is the business case for bringing the water over isn't as strong because it's not 10% higher. I think the total price difference between Illinois American Water and with that increase in Pleasant Valley is 27%.
Good deal.
Which I think, if I remember, it comes out to about $78,000 to $80,000 a year. So then the question is, how much does it cost to do it, and then what's the math on the payback? What's it cost to maintain it?
What was the rough cost, the construction cost?
Well, I had $1 million, but then I was using 1.5 as a swag. But that's part of what Brandon and I are going to meet and talk about. If it's 1.5, I mean, $80,000 a year, that's...
Mm-hmm.
If it's halfway in between 1 and 1.5, you got a 15-year payback. If it costs nothing to run it.
Yeah, that's not counting the maintenance.
Which, you got the maintenance, you get the utility bills here for pumping into the tower, and then utility bills for running a huge pump station on Taylor Road. So 15 years plus payback.
It may be well worth it. I mean, the big question would be, and that's what Brandon and I are going to talk about, is whether or not we should do a full engineering study to determine what the exact costs are, and or we just use the rough numbers and swag it and say yay or nay.
Probably.
So based upon what you've seen, is 15 years of reasonable payback?
A lot of
To me, it's right on the border,
It's
right?
a lot of extra infrastructure. That's been my trepidation from the very beginning. That's taken a lot of extra infrastructure on.
And we don't know what's going to cost to get the land to bring it through.
Yeah.
So that's an estimate.
And we're already over 15 without 12, let's say. Be conservative, you're over 12 without figuring in any operating costs.
Well, the other thing is
maintenance.
that's not necessarily considering the interest rate either. I mean,
True.
you'd have to get a 1 or 2%, USDA loan or something like that, or IEPA loan or something to make it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Because I think if you're looking at the commercial rate of 6, 7, 8%, it's in the month. I think the monthly savings was $6,500, and when I ran the numbers on, if you're running a 6, 7, 8, I think I used 8%. The monthly payment is like $11,000.
And that was just putting in the pipe, right?
That was
Getting the water from
getting
A to
the
B.
water here. It's getting the water here doesn't no maintenance costs on top of that.
And no replacement tower or replacement groundwater tank to go with to
Correct.
replace the tower. Yeah.
That's a whole different project.
I think it's well, yeah.
Stick a fork in it.
Yeah, I mean, for me, yeah.
Well, Brandon and I are going to meet. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, it's gonna take one heck of a revelation for me to support them doing a full study on it,
Man, I
just
guess
so we can narrow it down by a couple 100,000 our estimate.
if we didn't have the tower on top of it, maybe.
Plus you look at doing this, you completely handicapped your ability in the future to replace the tower or to start replacing aging and undersized mains that we have all over town.
Because you're putting the capital in there, yeah.
Yeah, because you're taking a huge capital expense, so would you be better off
course,
just
the
spending
flip
that money
side is-
making your system better?
The flip side is, what if Illinois American Water does, somewhere between 15 and 25% every other year for the rest of the time, which is what they've done the last 3 years.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, without spending
They
the
won't be
extra
able
money,
to do that without proving capital. Without proving infrastructure projects, they're not going to get approved for those
And I guess,
raises every single year.
and I guess the other point would be is if they do, that doesn't. We could always make the decision later to do it if the
Yeah,
gap got bigger than 27.
and the money we make back, I mean, we will gain money back too. Is once we can get a tower in and start replacing water mains in town at a higher clip instead of just the ones that are in desperate need. Eventually, you will track down
all those leaks.
the high losses that you have, even if it's death by a million cuts, which it probably is in our case because we've not found a major leak, you will start eliminating those thousands at a time as you start getting rid of, I'm sure there's weep holes everywhere, all over town in all these old mains, that aren't going to come to the surface unless you get something crazy happen, like negative 30 degrees or sudden pressure fluctuation if exercising the valve or hydrant at the right or wrong time or too quick or just that day that it decides to go because it's 100 years old.
I mean, had it been a higher increase, we'd be sitting looking at almost a 40% difference between the two rather than a 27% difference between the two. Anyway, that's one of the topics for Brandon and I on Thursday, and I'll let you know what we come up with.
Yep. And a report on water.
Buildings ground, Mr. Weaver.
Don't have anything to report.
Streets and alleys, Mr. Weaver.
Nothing to report.
Still there.
CEC, Mr. Sidak.
All right, so our first order of business is the amendment to the ordinance approving and authorizing the execution of the First Amendment to the VDD redevelopment agreement. This is essentially just updating the language to reflect the amount that we already paid. Our original VDD agreement between the Sportsman's Club and the city called for the 75% of the $3,500, but we paid $3,500. So this is amending the language to show the promised $3,500.
$875 is the difference.
I'll second it.
So say that again.
Oh,
No, you're good. We got a second, so there's discussion now.
So what we did is there was confusion between me and Jacob and Klein, and they thought they wanted me to do it at the 75% like we did the grants.
Yeah.
We were saying we're going to cover all 3,500. So we cut the check for 3,500 when we got to the end of the year and we audited. Glenn came back and goes, we should have only given them whatever $875, $26.25, because that's what 75% of 3,500 is. And I'm like, no, we always wanted to give them the 3,500.
Gotcha.
He said, well, you only approved to give them the $26.25, so you need to do the amendments so that. And the reason
when they moved their electric meter or something like that?
this was the ball diamond stuff that wasn't grant eligible that we moved out and did as a redevelopment agreement.
That's right. That's why it was different than the
Correct.
normal.
And in my head, a redevelopment agreement, I was going to give them all 3,500. And her head was
Because
we were still going to give them
it wasn't constrained by the grant
the
program.
75%.
Gotcha.
Correct.
All right.
And so the difference is we're basically saying we're going to spend another 875, which what we thought we actually already have.
Yeah.
Spent it, so the paperwork just doesn't match what we actually did.
Gotcha. I'm good.
Who seconded that?
Johnson, Chris.
A motion by Sidak, second by Chris Johnson. Any further discussion? Then we will roll call it. Sidak,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Caleb Johnson, yes. Weaver,
Yes.
and Chris Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The other thing on here is
That's ordinance 25-01-02.
the other thing on here is just one of our classic commercial grant reimbursements. This is for the car wash, one of the bay doors, and our cost came up to $15,000. So I will make a motion that we approve the disbursement of $15,000 to project 24C1.
Motion by Sidak,
I'll second it. Johnson, Chris.
Chris Johnson. Any further discussion?
So why do they have a $9,700 check?
There's another one for 11.
Oh, I got you. They paid out of two. Okay, I didn't know the backup stuff. Okay, gotcha.
And the work's been done for a while. They just wanted to push it to this year so they didn't get the check until 2025 for tax purposes.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So this is the last grant that'll be approved for last year's program. All the
Gotcha.
money's been out.
I got you. They just paid 2 installments. Oh, okay.
I guess it's a special door that reduces damages when cars hit the door. I'm guessing that happens enough anyway.
Oh, it probably does.
Yeah.
No further discussion. We'll roll call it. Caleb Johnson,
Yes.
Weaver, yes. Chris Johnson,
Yes.
and Sidak.
Yes,
Motion carried.
thus concludes my report.
Dawson District. Yeah, go ahead.
So the last thing is an update to the liquor and gaming license ordinance. The reason for this is we were going to update it as part of Title V, like we redid the code book, but we ran out of budget money, so we're not going to get to Title V until next year's fiscal budget. And so I wanted to go ahead and get this updated before we do the liquor licenses at the end of April of this year. So the changes that we made that I need to draw to your attention are, one, we align the hours with Peoria County, so that way our businesses aren't disadvantaged because the hours are different. We had, if you remember, Jeff Chiravalli had told us that you couldn't get beer before or like 11 a.m. or something like that at
Noon on Sundays.
Casey's on Sundays.
Yeah.
but they could go down the street to Bellevue and get it because that's what the Peoria County was. So we changed the hours, and that actually, as we did it, we went through and just modified it rather than being exactly with Peoria County. We made it our own. So I'll walk you through. If you look at section 111-10 classification and fees, we ended up just narrowing it down and having 4 main licenses and 2 subclasses. So 4 class licenses and 2 subclasses. So Class A is basically Casey's. That's and we put, the other thing we did is we put the restrictions. So you know how maybe some of you don't, but for each of the liquor licenses, you can only have so many, right? We had those in 2 different places. Now I put it all into one place. So the Class A license would be businesses that are like Casey. The only one we have is Casey's. So I put the limit of 1 on there, okay? And I changed the hours from 6 a.m. to 2 a.m., which is the same with Peoria County. The Class B licenses are bars, so that's Hannah City Tap, Refuel, Sportsman's Club, Gills. And I put a cap of 4, and again at 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. We're currently at 1 a.m. So that's a 1 hour later change. The Class C license is one I added, and it's a combined license. And so that's basically if you're a Casey's plus a bar. And the reason I added that,
The new gas station.
because if the new gas station goes in, that's what they would be doing. And I put the limit at 1, because that's the only one that we've had asked for at this point. Then the Class D license is the temp license. So like when the Park District is doing their thing or anybody's having a temp license, and I didn't put any limit on those because we can just control them when we approve them or whatever. So those are the 4 licenses. First one is Casey's. Second, Class B is bars. Class C is the combined, and then Class D is the temporary. And then subclass 1 license is only eligible with Class B licensees. So you have to have a B license to get subclass 1, and that is the beer gardens. And we only have 2 of those at this point. We have Refuel and we have the Hannah City Sportsman's Club. So I put the limit at 2. And then the other thing I did is I changed the hours. This is one thing I did different than Peoria County. I didn't leave it 6 a.m. to 2 a.m. I made it noon to midnight. A little more neighborhood friendly.
Thank you.
And then subclass 2 is the gaming machines. And I put the limit of that as 5, which is how many we have today. Well, we actually have 4, plus if the new gas station goes in, that would be 5. And then the other thing I did, and if you guys don't want to do this, tell me, but we were charging $25 per terminal annually. And I moved it to $50 per terminal. And the reason I did that is I just did a little research with Jeff and some other people. And that's kind of what most people are doing. I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of years ago, Peoria County came in and said you could charge up to $500 per terminal per year. And we made the decision we were just going to leave it at 25 at that point. I did a little research and looked around, and most people were charging around 50, so I moved it from 25 to 50. You guys can change it back if you want.
I think they can cover it.
So if we approve this, basically what we're saying is the only open license would be if the gas station goes in. There's nothing else. Coffee cans, done.
Yeah.
Sportsman's Club, Hannah City Tap, Warehouse and Gills.
Technically, the new place already paid for a license and has it.
Who?
Hannah
City Tap.
No. The new gas station.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they actually paid for it. They
Well, that
have
was
it.
for last year. So
Yeah.
that would be for the new year.
Well, but we haven't done the New Year's yet, so
Right.
they
Yeah.
currently have it. It's
Yeah.
not open.
Understand.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
So we're full.
Yeah.
If somebody wants a new liquor license, they'd have to come in and ask for it, which is our normal process. So that way, if we have any changes to liquor license, it's all in one ordinance now. We don't have to go multiple places. We'll build this into the business section, Title V of the code book when we do it at the new year. Any questions?
Good work. I like that too. And we defined what a beer garden is in some spot.
I don't know. Let's see.
And is the Class D written in such a way that the event covers indoor and outdoor? I mean, because usually they're only outdoor.
This says privately owned premises, publicly owned premises, or written authorization of the public body having charge of such premises. So it doesn't really.
I guess this is premises, so premises are pretty generic.
In or out.
Yeah.
And what is the subclass 1? It just says outdoor beer garden.
When in the code book, do we have an appendix that just says what premises means? It could be not limited to indoor, outdoor, or is it just something that the reader has to infer based off the text?
I know beer gardens, you have to have controlled entry. You can't just have, I mean, that's why Refuel does the barrier thing out there, so it defines what the outdoor beer garden is, but I can't. We must have that defined somewhere, because I know they did it because we told them to, but I don't know if they did it because we told them to or because we actually codified it somewhere.
I don't see it codified anywhere that I know.
I don't know if there's a definitions part of this ordinance. I mean, you're only putting in here what we're changing, but I don't know.
Shannon, when you did your research, did you see anything relative to beer garden definition?
In the current code, I don't think so, but I only looked at the sections that were being changed.
Yeah, so in our current code, we don't
Because
have.
it's got to be fenced off, you can't be able to walk in and out of it. Whatever entrances there are have to be. I mean, if you do have an outside entrance, then it's got to be staffed. If somebody carves
And it has
somebody,
to be controlled entrance.
it's got to be a controlled entrance. So that's why they only do it internally, coming through the place and out. Because obviously you have to go through the place, so it's controlled.
They didn't last year.
Do what? Well, I mean, if as long as you don't order any liquor, you could just walk in them.
No, I'm
It'd be in
saying
the
you could
place.
go in and out.
Oh, from the outside there.
Refuel, yeah.
Well, yeah, people hop the fence or something.
Your point is that they have to get the liquor inside.
Yeah, and they have to.
Because this way they could just get
There
something
can't be
in their car and back
There
and
shouldn't
forth.
be an open gate back and forth to the outside. It has to be, unless they have somebody monitoring that gate.
Well, do you want to approve it with the language that will update it and put a definition in, or you want to leave it as is, or?
Well, I'd approve it the way it is. You can always. That's something to probably look at as you're going through stuff.
I think what we can do is we're gonna do Title 5 anyway, so we can just make the change when we do that in a couple of months.
Just I don't know.
Yeah.
We usually do put a lot of definitions in when we're rewriting the code anyway, so.
Yeah, that was more of a housekeeping type thing. I'd pass this the way it is right now, but as we're redoing it, put
Yeah.
a definition
No.
section in.
I like it.
It'd be a matter of time for someone questions it and says you don't have it in here where it says you have to do it. So.
Well, there'll be people that'll be like trying to get away with everything. So who's my motion by?
Mm-hmm.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Chris Johnson.
Second.
And by Ida. Any further discussion? Comments? Who was the last one? You were last. So I can begin. So we'll roll call it Weaver.
Yes.
Chris Johnson.
Yes.
Sidak.
Yes.
Caleb Johnson.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And that is ordinance number.
Did you do?
That'll be ordinance number 25-01-03. And I'll give you all of these. Here have been signed. So you can give them to the.
She said she's gonna stop by after work
Okay.
to do it.
Well, signed. They're all. So they have it.
Uh-huh. If you would.
I'm sure everybody heard about the accident that was out on Kansas City Glassford. Haven't really got any more details on it from the Sheriff's Department. I did have the news call me on it and ask for a comment.
The one up by Lancaster?
Mm-hmm.
We'll have the mayor of Haines City have a comment on that.
I have no idea.
I don't think he did, actually.
No, I
I hope not. It has nothing to do with the village, nor is it anywhere close to the village.
Yeah, I let them know that I had no comment on the matter, and the police matters would be handled by Peoria County Sheriff's Department. It was an ongoing investigation. So,
Yeah, correct. That's nowhere close. I don't even think we're the closest municipality to it.
Are the homes down there though Hannah City address or no?
there might be
Oh, okay, like Camelot houses?
no on
No, they're
Kansas City
not.
Glass.
Oh, yeah, those might be. Yeah, it might have came by as a, yeah. But
They probably thought Hannah
Like,
City it must be.
maps exist.
Hannah City.
Like,
It's easier to make.
seriously? We don't even have a police force, nor is it in the village limits. Wow. A lot wrong with that.
We all
I lost. They're not.
They called about
know.
a sidewalk that wasn't happening, so must have been a
Slow.
slow news day or just grabbing at straws.
Are you looking up the police reports?
Yeah, I'm trying to grab those real quick.
Well, while he's doing that, I got just a quick question. Have you heard anything about groundbreaking on the gas station yet? I was going to ask that before you even brought it up. Just kind of wondering.
What's D doing?
Yeah, I've not heard anything other than they purchased the building. That's the only thing.
I just wonder because like I got that new card shop in there, and so it looks like they're still leasing out those properties. I'm kind of wondering how that's going to look. So
My guess is right now they're just cash flowing it until they figure out what it is they're going to
probably
do.
a short lease or something too.
It was January 12th through the 18th. There were 3 incidents. Vandalism on Center Street, medical call, Farmington Road, and a medical call on Brad Court. January 18th through January 12th through January 18th. I haven't got anything new. Normally I get them the day before, so. And that is all I have. Does anybody else have anything else to bring before the board? If not, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, Sean.
A couple nights ago, our alarm went off.